Yes.
We shared some ideas.
Yes,
We didn't know there was going to be ban on something has to do with drought and all that, but
Yes.
it falls in line with the conversation we're having.
Yes, indeed.
The lack of intentionality in almost every space, including agric.
Well, it's a habit. And they say that experience is a teacher. But the truth of the matter is that when you observe people's behavior, you realize that experience doesn't teach them anything. It is only evaluated experience that teaches you something. In
Not
other
just
words,
experience.
No. If it was just experience, all of us are alive. We have experiences every day. So we're all getting wiser and wiser. But if you experience something and you don't evaluate it, then it is not useful to you. So the question is this the first time we're experiencing drought?
Evidently, no.
Obviously. So the other previous incidences where we've experienced it, what did it teach us? And the actions we are taking now, is this the first time we're taking these kind of actions? And when we took them the last time, if they solved the problem, would we be taking them again?
Wow.
So that is where we are in the scheme of things. And that is what we have to put squarely on the shoulders of the people who have been making the decisions about what our agricultural policy and what our development policy should be. Are you with me? If not them, then who else are you going to put that blame on? For example, now we're talking about drought. But we get more rain than Burkina. Have you heard them complaining?
No.
So what is it that they are doing there that we are not doing here? Is this the first time we've heard about irrigation as the solution to evening out food fluctuation so that you maintain a buffer in case of lean and fat years? Even in the Bible, Joseph's time, there were lean and fat years. Why were the people going to Egypt? Are you with me? The irrigation systems, they supported their basic amount of grain.
Then
Now, when we talk about drought in Ghana and you start dishing out inputs, seed, etc., do inputs, etc., cure drought?
evidently, no.
Are you with me? So the fundamental situation is, and the big question must be asked, what has been our irrigated area as a percentage of our cultivated area? And over time, are you with me? Has that increased or dropped or stayed static? That is question number one. Then you compare yourselves to the people who are near you. Don't go far. Are you with me? Don't want people to start talking about US and all those big countries. No, just cross the border to Burkina. Ask, what is the percentage of the irrigated area?
As compared to the total cultivated area.
Yes. So now, first of all, even if you look at the absolute amounts of cultivated area alone, are you with me? That itself is a very big contrast. You're talking about some 22,000 hectares in Ghana compared to some nearly 1 million hectares in Burkina. Are you with me? So that is already a big contrast. The question then is, how does irrigated area as a percentage of your cultivated area, how does that prevent you from getting drought? Are you with me? What it means is that a percentage of your cultivated area is always under production, whilst the one under rain-fed will go up and down, but the one under production all the time buffers you.
Yes, it's consistent.
Are you consistent? So it buffers you. And people who have about 30% of their land cultivated as irrigated are very food insecure. If you go around the list of countries that export food, which we buy, are you with me? You notice that
They are
invariably the percentage of irrigated area to cultivated area is above 15 to 20 to 30%. Are you with me? So now, if you know that, this is not we have not gone to Harvard University to find this out. Oh. Even in ancient Egypt, they knew it. You cross the border here to Burkina, they know it. Are you with me? So don't start calling for another conference and all that wasting of money, talking jazz and new strategy and all of that. That's all a waste of time.
Just go do what common sense tells you.
What common sense tells you and what has worked. And as a government, as part of your strategic investment, are you with me, in the development of your country, the idea is that I must have at least X% of my land as irrigated. Then I can relax. That to me is even more important, are you with me, than having buffer stock. The buffer stock which we built up, are you with me, where is it now? Even before now, it had already disappeared. Are you with me? So those are just tools that you use around the main intervention to keep you moving forward. But if you're not making that main intervention to keep you moving forward, then all those tools that you are using, they are just,
Doc,
small impediments.
Dr. Sakara is in the studio, so if you are not aware, you just said it. Let's go to the figures. What is our situation in terms of irrigated area as compared to total cultivated area in Ghana? What is our figure?
We have only about 22,000 hectares of irrigated area now.
Okay. What is happening in Cote d'Ivoire? In Burkina?
And then in terms of total cultivated area, we have more than 100 million hectares of cultivated area. Are you with me? So we are just about 0.345% of cultivated area that is irrigated. So it is a very minuscule acreage.
22,000 as compared to 100 million.
Yes. No, as opposed to 1 million hectares.
1 million.
Yes.
Okay.
If you add everything together, add everything. Are you with me? Add everything together.
What is happening in Burkina?
In Burkina, the difference is that they have almost 1 million hectares of irrigated land. Are you with me? And
the total is what? Their total
cultivated area is not very much. We don't have as much as we do. Because it's a dry country. How much of it is cultivated? But at least they're approaching that, 15, 20%, 30% area that is cultivated. That is why they're able to supply you tomatoes when they have only one short rainy season a year, or 4 months, 3-4 months. And you have 2 seasons in the south, are you with me? And then one long season in the north, which is variable. Sometimes it comes. And the other thing is that, you see, there are patterns to this weather. You notice that in every 5 years, you will have 2 to 3 years of good rains.
Okay.
Followed by 1 year, 2 years of bad rains.
Just like Joseph's time.
Just like Joseph's time. And we know it. It's not as if you ask the farmers. If you want to know, don't ask we, the people with PhDs and what have you. Go and ask the farmers. They'll tell you. The ones who haven't been to school at all, they will tell you more accurately. Are you with me? And they adjust themselves to these seasons by choosing different kinds of crops to grow. Are you with me?
Okay.
So in the year that they know it's not going to be so good, they switch to things like cowpea and short season crops, etc.
Okay.
But in the olden days, they used to keep their own grain reserves. In the middle of the house, you have a big silo made of mud. Just because it was not metal did not mean it did not work well. They use hermetic sealing. In other words, you build it and trap the air and create carbon dioxide inside so that the insects die. you know, and it stays there for a long period, and then you be fetching one bowl at a time. You know, if only the man of the house can open that thing. Who born dog? If you go near that thing, you know, but their system worked. Are you with me?
Exactly.
Yeah, but now everybody is buying food to table. When they even have a lot of crop, they'll sell it because of school fees, uniforms, etc. So the same people, can you imagine that in our country, the most food insecure areas, according to our FAO statistics, etc., are the rural areas. Now, in the rural areas is where farmers live. So how can the people growing crops be the food insecure people? That tells you that something fundamental has gone wrong.
Comparing Ghana to Burkina in terms of, because we started the conversation with
Yes.
drought, so we're talking irrigation.
Yes.
Are we suffering from the resource scarce?
No, what we are suffering from is too much resources so that we're unable to make prioritized decisions so that things can move forward in a consistent and cumulative way. But because we have too many resources and can afford to make careless decisions, because normally things don't go bad, so we never make any prioritized decision on things that should move us forward, because we don't want to make that sacrifice. We want immediate gratification. So we don't make that sacrifice. This is what you don't have the luxury of in those countries like Burkina, etc. They know that if they make the wrong choice, it's not tomorrow. Today, you'll be punished. Are you with me?
Okay.
So make the right choice and you keep moving forward. Are you with me?
Exactly.
So they've been forced to make those right choices. But in Ghana, the land of plenty, we're always making careless choices. Are you with me?
And it comes back to
Look
bite
at the
us.
choices we've made. You have gold, you have all these things, you have plantain, you have root crops, cassava, maize. You're still importing rice, you're still importing wheat. Are you with me? And then finally, even the rivers, you've decided to pollute them. Are you with me? For more things you cannot eat. Are you with me? You spend the major financial investment of the whole year on a crop that you don't eat. You just export it in beans to Europe for them to make the profit out of it there. Those are not prioritized decisions.
It brings me to this question that if irrigation was the way to go, was that not why the dams were supposed to have been built? What were the one village, one dam,
which dams
one
are you
dug
talking
out?
about?
What were they supposed to do? Were they
Okay,
not?
first of all,
What was that policy about?
we knew about dams before one village, one dam. The dams that we talked about initially had two purposes. There were the dams that created areas that could be irrigated, the large-scale dams in the north, etc., Weja, what have you, and some in Volta region, East Bank. And then you had dams for community use. That's to say, there's just water there for people to go and fetch water, animals to drink, etc., but they're not irrigating any land.
Okay.
Okay? Now, when they were doing one village, one dam, I didn't know which kind of dam they wanted and for what purpose. Are you with me?
Okay.
Because if it is for agriculture, then you have to have a land lying lower than it
So that the
that
water
can be irrigated.
Okay.
And also the quantity of water that you are going to trap must be enough to last that season and also be enough for use by human beings and animals. But most of these dams were of such a small size that they couldn't really cater for that, if people want to be honest with themselves. And to suggest and pretend otherwise was a big misleading of people. But that was not the biggest crime that was committed. The biggest crime that was committed in this one village, one dam, was to assume that everywhere could hold a dam. Every village can have a dam. The soil is not distributed like that. Dams can only be built on certain types of soils, clay soils that hold water.
Exactly.
But if the place is gravel, but Chinchina, you must dig a dam, so you dig it there.
The water is going to seep into the...
In the rain season, you see the dam filling.
Yeah.
After that, it will just drain away because the soil underneath is freely draining. So it is not everywhere that you can have a dam. That's point number one.
Okay.
So to give the impression, and it is not as if people did not know. People knew, because if you go back to the documents, the strategic documents that were prepared by SADA, are you with me? It was clearly stated there in the water for production and consumption strategy where you could have dams.
It wasn't for every village.
No, but because the logo for campaign is that one village, one dam, then Chinchana, every village must have a dam. Are you with me? That, again, comes back to our politics, our rotten partisan behavior, our rotten, campaign promises, where it translates itself into policy that is implemented irrespective of whether it makes sense or does not make sense in order to fulfill a campaign promise. So those are bad things. Let's be clear about that. And they were misallocation and misappropriation of resources. But more than that, there was a misleading of the people and then a disappointment of many people. And on top of that, it didn't fulfill the objective. It was a waste of money. So now, go back a little bit, are you with me? Go and follow the data in those books. They will tell you where you can have dams and where you cannot have dams. So you build the dams there. Secondly, we all know, are you with me, that we suffer from flood. Today we're complaining of drought. Give it another year, we'll be complaining of floods. So if you're having flood, drought, the question that should be going on inside the gray matter is, how can I adjust myself to control these two extremes so that I am comfortable all the time? The solution, yes, is to create dams.
Okay.
But not everywhere. Create dams along the channel where you're getting the floods to take the water off the channel in the equivalent amount of the flood.
Okay.
Water flooding. So if it is 100 cubic centimeters that is flooded water, build 5 dams that are 2 centimeters cubed each, and they will hold the build 5 dams that are 20 centimeters cubed, and it will hold the 100 cubics, and therefore you will not have a flood. The surface water will continue, give you your power and whatever you want to do with it. But you don't dictate where those dams will be built. It's according to the lie of the land.
Nature has already given you where.
So you go and build those dams there, and then you create communities around them. This was what was in the strategy of how to create agro-processing hubs around those areas, because these will be big dams that can hold water for use and irrigated area, etc. You put in the infrastructure, which is what is contained inside the GTP when we talk about hubs. Are you with me? And agro-parks. So now you build around those so that where there's maize, you specialize in doing maize. Where there's rice, you specialize in the complete rice value chain. Are you with me? And so on and so forth. Then you can have not only the added value from the value chain, you can have continuous supply all the year round. But it is not something, you just get up, make some strategy at the national level, cut the project into little bits, and then sprinkle the money everywhere and it will appear. No. You have to decide that this is what I want to do. Cost it is going to cost so much. So in the national budget for infrastructure, you treat it like you do roads. Are you with me? This is water infrastructure for production, etc. So how much am I willing to invest in this every year so that by this period, 30% of my cultivated area will be under irrigation.
But Dr. Abu Sakara,
Yes.
don't we have research institutions in this country that should, direct these projects?
Oh, look, we have plenty. Ghana has some of the best agricultural scientists, not only in Africa. Are you with me?
In the world.
But if you don't use the brains you have, what good is it to you? You put them in research institutions, etc. Even small money for research they don't have. They will be designing projects which donors will be funding, which may not be your priority. It may be the latest global fad, climate this or this and that. And, but that's the money available. So you research on it.
Of course.
Are you with me? But your own fundamental issues that are at the foundation of how you build your economy up, you have to invest in that. Don't expect somebody else to come and do it for you. So you have to empower them. Are you with me? And not only just researching, you have to connect them to industry. Research is useless unless it's connected to industry. Are you with me? So at this stage of the game, it's not about our researchers. They've done their jobs very well. If you go, you see papers upon papers, well-researched information. That is his job.
He's done it.
You don't expect the surgeon who has been doing operation to come to your house and cook for you because nutrition is good to keep your body healthy.
No.
That's not his job.
That's not his job. It's true.
Are you with me? So now, where we're talking about investment in infrastructure, it is something that the government must make as a deliberate choice, as part of the architecture of its economy, to say that my agriculture must move from this level, are you with me, to this level in terms of its capacity and in terms of the nature of it. So we're not talking about production here. Oh, we want maize to go up 10 tons and we want to get so many. No, your total agricultural capacity, your landed cultivated area, your irrigated area as a percentage, your mix, are you with me, with places for value addition in enclaves, so that at the end of the day, you have evolved the agriculture. In other words, you have not just increased production, but you have evolved along the value chain. And you're not just hoping that that will happen randomly. You go to the bank, get money. No, but you're directing it. Are you with me? It will happen in this area for this type of things. Are you with me? That is how other people have achieved what they sought out to achieve or set out to achieve. And there's no way of it. You can't achieve it by dancing palogo around the document. Are you with me? You have to get serious. And all these issues that we keep addressing year in, year out, are you with me, are the complete contrast and evidence that we have not addressed these problems in a fundamental way. We're quite happy, are you with me, to just survive on rain-fed agriculture, because in a good year we have surplus, we don't know what to do with it. In a bad year we're crying. Are you with me? And then at the end of the day, inputs are the easiest thing to do. You just push some inputs into the system, subsidy here, but irrigation is not so easy to do. Are you with me?
Doc, it has happened.
Yes.
The drought has happened, and government intends to spend 1,000 cedis per hectare for farmers affected by the drought. Is this intervention going to work? Is it going to be adequate?
Well, what is the cost of production for a hectare?
Okay.
The cost of production for a hectare for maize is more than 1,000 cedis. So you're just replacing what they have lost. Are you with me? That's point number one. I mean, I'm not saying it is nothing. It is some compensation, so it is not bad. But all of these, in as much as they're well-intentioned, they're simply temporary measures. You're saying that, okay, we should put a ban. How many times have we not banned, rice, maize, and soybean in this country? In this 5-year period alone, we've banned it at least twice before. Are you with me? So how does that solve the problem? You understand? It's just a temporary measure to hold your grain whilst you try and avoid the deficit deepening. Okay? But in terms of the permanent measures, that is where it goes beyond the Minister of Agriculture. And this is one of the things that Ghana must understand. The problem with the development of our agriculture cannot be solved by the Minister of Agriculture alone. It has to be solved by the President and his cabinet, who decide that we are going to have an evolved agriculture, and therefore we have to invest money in it, and we are going to take money from A, B, C, D in order to develop this infrastructure for it. And these are our targets. And we want to see an evolution, not just production. Are you with me? We want to see
a total evolution.
And it is going to happen in area X, Y, and Z. And we monitor it to make sure it happens. That is what we have proposed in the GDP in terms of the hubs for production, which we call the agro parks, where we have the grains and the cereals in the north, different cereals for different areas along those river valleys, etc. And then we have the Brongahafo for the tree crops, because that is a natural tree crop area.
Okay.
You don't need to go to Harvard University to find that out. If you look at Ghana and the map, you go to our left, our border with Ivory Coast, all forest. You go to our right, our border with Togo, grassland. Are you with me?
Okay.
So it's natural that the tree crops going from the transition area to Brongahafo should be there. Now you come down to the Volta area, that's where we have our vegetables, etc. And then the eastern area, you have our area for, the science and technology excellence centers. So there's many ways in which you can approach this, but you have to have a plan and you have to start implementing it slowly. And then the evolution of it must be quantifiable and measurable, and you must see it at specific locations. Don't just take the strategy document, oh, we blew so many million on this, are you with me? And we have spent so many on it. If we are now sending military to police the borders, are you with me? Why is it that when we're planting the tree crops and trying to reforest the area, why didn't we send some armed people there to police the areas from being eaten by cows? That money we spent to police them from being burnt in the dry season, that money we spent. Now, if you look in that savannah belt, you have an influx of herdsmen. Now, I'm not saying that all herdsmen are bad. Are you with me?
Yeah.
All I'm telling you is that the land has a carrying capacity of so much, of which there are already landed cultivators. Once you get an influx of herdsmen beyond a certain herd of cattle, inevitably they're going to destroy the crops and destroy the vegetation. Who is monitoring that? Do we know how many heads of cattle are now on the land and what the carrying capacity of that land is? By the time we find out, the place would have been denuded and going into desert.
Talking of quantifiable, how much investment do you think is needed in the next 10 years to ensure sustainable crop production in this country?
It is not a matter of money alone. It is a matter of what are you determined to achieve in terms of having a sustainable food security situation. And how are you planning to achieve it so that it is biologically sensible? Are you with me? If you're going to invest all that money in rain-fed agriculture, you will come back to the same place that you are going to. But if we are going to have this in irrigated land as a percentage of our area, some of it large, some of it small, some of it in enclaves, then we know that there will be this consistent output. And because of that, we have to put in the agro-processing behind it. Not just anywhere. Again, we have this penchant of putting all the agro-processing in Tema, Accra. And then we sit down. Let them bring it. Meanwhile, your biggest cost,
It's transportation.
transportation. And then you are transporting the inputs all the way there, then you're transporting the produce back. And then you say you're not competitive. The others are outcompeting you. Why didn't you put the processing over there? Are you with me?
Talking of transportation, some have said that one of the things we are not doing well is water transportation.
Of course, I believe that. That is my mantra. From day to night, I've been singing the story for the last God knows how many years. Are you with me? The last time I came here, I spoke about it. Water transportation is the cheapest form of transportation, followed by rail. And I always say this. If I had my way and I had to look after Ghana for only 8 years, I'll say, okay, you know what? Let us explain the situation to the people and get their buy-in. Do you know, people, all those campaign promises, for the next 8 years, let us not build another hospital. Let's just maintain the ones that we have and increase our operations to look after more people. Let us not even build another university. Let's maintain the ones that we have. Are you with me? Let us not even build, are you with me, more schools. Let's maintain what we have and do shifts for 8 years. Now, the money that we are going to save, let us put that in water transportation on a BOT basis with accompanying investments from Ada all the way to Wipe, and then do rail from Wipe to Burkina, Niger, and Mali. With this network,
What are you going to do? Sell to them?
no, if you move along it, you pay.
No. Okay, so that we become the conduit by which these
Yes.
landlocked countries.
You make Ada a free zone. Are you with me?
Okay.
You make Tema a free zone. More volume will flow through, and that is where your 24 hours comes in. Day and night, boats will be moving up and down. Containers will be moving up and down. Trains will be moving up and down. And of course, if all this is happening, people will be buying and selling things. Are you with me? And needing accommodation and all those things.
That's radical.
And the agro-processing hubs that you have in that area, they will all be churning, because you've now controlled the water. They will all be churning out things which will be coming down the rail to the south. That transportation alone will pay for itself in time. But you are not going to borrow the money. We'll give the iron ore to a company and say, use this iron ore to build a rail. Are you with me? Work and pay for yourself. When you've paid, we'll take over. Are you with me? The water canal system, yes, you build it. The water is there. God gave us. Kwame Nkrumah, our father, gave us. Are you with me? So you build the railway, the water transportation system, and the inland port. Are you with me? When you've collected your money, we'll take over. Now we will invest our money on the ancillary investments that are needed to optimize that in terms of the agro-processing hubs, in terms of the other infrastructure we need to support it. Are you with me? And that way, we are going to have a boom in jobs. We're going to have a big reduction in our transportation costs. And if we are sensible enough to take the tax component on fuel out for those people in the agro-processing hubs, 60% of the cost of fuel is all tax. So you get this voucher, you're using 1,000 liters every month. Are you with me? Take this voucher to your diesel petrol station, give them the voucher, are you with me? And you will pay for only 40%. The 60% tax, we have taken it out. Or use the ECG, are you with me? With this rebate, you pay for 40%, we pay for the other tax. So you're not using money, you're just taking the tax you would have earned, you're taking it out. That will now make them very efficient, because Energy is their biggest problem. You go to the poultry farmers, it's energy. You go to the maize millers, it's energy. You go to the rice millers, it's energy. The reason we have not been able to do our cotton is energy. Are you with me? Because at the end of the day, you have to come to the market and compete at a price, which if you put in your cost of money, your cost of energy, your cost of equipment, and all these other factors,
You'll be competitive.
you're not competitive. And as long as you are not competitive, all the investments you make there will be rendered useless. Because you open the factory the first day, we'll see the first bags of rice and the sugar, they all come, we all, as soon as we leave there, you leave the general manager with the problem. Now, fill this big hole. We've done it at Commander. You and me. How many places have we not done that at? So, this is basically what we are saying, that enough is enough. Let's stop the politics. Are you with me? Let's get real around a concrete plan and let's work together on it to make sure we move ourselves forward and stop the habit of waiting for crumbs. This NGO, that. Yes, NGOs are good. They manage to reach the parts we cannot reach. But you cannot substitute that for your own investment that you must make as the foundation for building your economy and your agriculture.
Interesting. Dr. Michael Abu Sakara is in the studios, and we're having a conversation on agric on the backdrop of the, we won't say it's a food crisis, but the droughts in the north and all the effects.
It's a looming food crisis.
Yeah, it's a looming food crisis. Someone has asked me to ask you this question. Maize and rice, the volumes we consume annually, large, mainly imported.
Right.
The person said, how can we practically meet the demand for just these two staples?
Yes.
Just these two.
Well, that's a good question because maize is our number one crop.
Okay.
Even though we like rice a lot, it is maize which provides us most of the calories that we need. And we have about 1.1 million tons of maize that is consumed annually. Are you with me? Almost an equal measure of rice is also consumed. But in the case of maize, we produce 70% of it.
Okay.
In the case of rice, we produce only 40% of it. People were boasting that by 2024 we'll be rice self-sufficient. Agbena.
We have 4 months to go. 4 months to go. 4 months to go.
4 months to go. Okay. I won't push the needle. But at the end of the day, are you with me? The things that we were doing, and this is the point that we keep making, the policy interventions that we make are stopgap, knee-jerk reactions to situation. We should stop that one. Are you with me? And even if it is only going to be modest, let's do the things that move us forward and you choke. Then you move us forward, you choke.
Okay.
Then you move us forward and you choke.
So that you consolidate.
We don't come back.
Thank you.
You see? That is the strategy we must take. And the only way you can choke yourself in agriculture and not come back is if you've got irrigated, cultivated area. And if the cost of energy to lift water is reasonable within limits. We have irrigated areas here where we have had to stop using them because the cost of diesel was too much. We have center pivots that are standing because the cost of diesel was too much for the end price of the product. You get my point of view. And also, the accompanying infrastructure in terms of if you wanted to use them for vegetables, to move vegetables before they perish. If you are, say, in the northern sector, like you want to use Tamale Airport, the infrastructure for flights out of Tamale has never been done. So the question we have is, after investing that money on that long runway, do you know that Tamale is one of the 2 longest runways in Africa with LED lights?
That's a beautiful airport. I've been there.
And yet, up till today, are you with me? Which commercial airlines are coming regularly in and out of Tamale?
There's a local.
And if Are you going to lift the vegetables, bring them here, and then put them in another plane? And what capacity? Are you with me? You have to have that as a stop en route to somewhere. Are you with me? For example, if you leave Nairobi with Kenya Airways, you land in Tamale, pick up some of the passengers, and then you land in London, or you leave Addis Ababa, you land in Tamale, you land in Europe or somewhere. Are you with me? So at least 2 flights a week. We know that the cargo space of so much is there. Then we go back to the irrigated area, because there we know the vegetables are there, and start, okay, we produce this. We'll be getting those, flights and moving it out. And you grow that way. So when you go jump ahead of some of these infrastructure, it backfires on you, because people will tell you we're going to do it. You believe it, and they cut the sword. But at the end of the day, they disappoint you, and then you are left holding the baby because you've made the investments and they haven't followed through. Those are the things that are affecting big businessmen. And I was even surprised to see that even Dangote has not been spared.
Dr. Michael Abu Sakara, national interest movement is of interest to me. Have you seen the Vision 2057? Together we build.
Yes.
In terms of agric, it talks about 2 major policy objectives. Ensure a modernized food and agric sector with resilience for food security and emergency preparedness, improve the efficient exploitation of regional competitive advantage in agricultural production and resource endowment to attain equitable regional development. Those are the 2 major policy objectives. But I'm interested in the targets. It said by 2057, the idea is to increase agric extension professionals per farmer from the 1 to 1,200 in 2022 to 1 to 500 in 2057. Is that achievable?
But first of all, that's not a question you should ask. Are you with me?
You've seen the 2057.
You have said, no, I've seen it, and you've made this statement. Read the first one again.
Ensure a modernized food and agriculture sector.
What is modern that you are doing about the agriculture? What is modern? Distributing inputs. Are you with me? Buying tractors. Is that what you call modern? Are you? The substance.
Dr. Sakara, what is modern?
The substance.
What is modern agri?
The substance of it, are you with me, is that you have to be able to control your transaction costs, and you have to be consistent with your production quality. Are you with me?
Okay.
Now, for you to do that, certain factors must be under your control.
Okay.
The water must be under your control. The inputs must be under your control, and the technical expertise must be under your control. And beyond that, the cost of money, are you with me, for that also should not exceed a certain amount. But that is not under your control. So when you make these outlandish statements, you have to know what it is that you can control and what it is that you cannot control, and limit yourself to the things you can control, are you with me? And work within that and set the target within that and achieve it and move on. But to make these outlandish, first of all, are you going to control the cost of capital? Will interest rates come down to less than single digit for farmers? In that policy statement, what are you doing for interest rates to come down to single digit? Will transaction costs due to form of transportation, will it change significantly? Will we have transportation by water, by rail, to bring the transaction costs down? If it's road transportation you're talking about, forget it. It's not good. It's not going to do anything different to what we have now. So if that does not change significantly as a component of the transaction costs, forget about it. Then finally, you're talking about inputs. If you have cheap transportation system, the input price will come down. If you begin manufacturing, are you with me, the gas we're flaring, if you invest or allow investors even to invest in it, convert that to ammonium fertilizer, and you have phosphate in Togo, and you have the combination, and you move it up, input prices will come down. We have had times, investors come and complain because they wanted to set up fertilizer plants and they were neutralized because some people wanted to be importing the fertilizer. Go back to last year's press release statements. You will see, and a very aggrieved investor, are you and me, who was blaming the Ministry of Agriculture for not even not supporting him, but literally working against him to derail his project because they wanted to bring in the fertilizer. So having this, what do you call it, oil industry means automatically that at least by now you should be having the fertilizer industry. Has that happened as a priority? If you want to modernize your agriculture, those are the things you do.
So this document, Vision 2057...
No, I'm saying that it's okay to have the vision, but the things that you should do to accompany it are not being done.
The vision is also to raise agricultural investment to 7%
what you said was that the ratio of extension workers, that is just one component, the technical advisory system. Are you with me? If you're advising me on the tablets to choose for malaria and there's no pharmacist around, how does that help me? Are you with me? So at the end of the day, we need to put these things in context, and we should stop just making these grandiose statements in the public domain. You're at a conference, they have said something, so you must also say something.
you believe that's why these things are put there?
No, but we have been around for long enough to know how these things work. Are you with me? So all those catchwords must be inside our statement so that now the thing has been packaged properly. Let's release it. But at the end of the day, how do you translate that? And what factors do you have under your control that can make that happen? And is the central policy of the government, which is not even in agriculture, but under Cabinet, Ministry of Finance, the President, Governor of the Bank, is that supporting those things to return into reality? If it's not, as a Minister of Agriculture, you just be spinning wheels. Are you?
Okay, so we won't go to Vision 2057. I mean, you just shot a bullet through the paper. So let's come to you.
Yes.
What would Vision 2057 look like in terms of agric if you had your way?
No, but I've told you, for me, the major issue is that our agriculture must evolve.
It hasn't over the years.
In other words, it must transform itself from one nature to another nature. We have had small-scale agriculture dependent on rain-fed agriculture. Yes, you can make some small productivity increases within there, but it has not moved beyond that in two directions. One or three directions. One, the percentage cultivated area to irrigation is very low. So you will never have a buffer that will stay. Number two, you've not had value addition come in to complement it at specific locations so that your transaction costs are down so you can be competitive. That's number two. The third aspect, which we need to take into consideration, is that your marketing systems and your policy environment are not conducive to keep pulling it upwards. If you're in a hole and you want to get out, and somebody who's supposed to be pulling your arms is put his foot on your head and is pushing your
You're
head
not coming
down,
out.
how are you coming out?
You're not coming.
So the conditions generally are pushing our agriculturalists down, not pulling them up. And that has been the main issue. Because from time to time, okay, let's give them small subsidy on fertilizers, on seeds, and so on. But those are just, I mean, aren't you tired of hearing those things? You should be tired by now. And you should know that if you've done something over and over and over and over again, and it has not fundamentally changed the situation, then you need to try something else. It means you're backing up the wrong tree. Not because it is wrong in of itself, but the one that you should start with, maybe you didn't start with that one. So we need to get to the drawing board and agree that we want to see an evolution of our agriculture as a percentage contribution to our economy and as part of the resilience of our economy itself. Therefore, we have to increase irrigated area by this much. Therefore, we have to have water transportation, a certain percentage of the bulk taken by water transportation, another bulk by rail. Therefore, we have to have enclaves of production to limit the movement of the raw materials, because it's where our main transportation costs come in.
Okay.
So that we don't have a situation where we're trying to compete in the market, but we're doing those things that increase our transaction costs. And then, at the end of the day, we ourselves must look at the composition of our calorie and protein intake and decide whether we should be adjusting our calorie and protein intake to what we produce here or keep it where it has been focused. For example, we know that our cassava, our yams, they consistently produce, they are our buffer. The real buffer stock of this country is our yams and cassava. Because when global prices start whizzing up and down, they're the ones that protect us. Not all these knee-jerk reactions we take. It is the cassava and the yams that protect us because they usually are very stable. So now we have to decide, do we want to shift some of our calorie intake that is in rice and all these other import? Do we want to put some of this? And if so, then we have to start from the schools. We have to start using those things for school feeding, making it sexy to be eating those things. Yeah, it's not only the imported
so that
rice.
When the kids grow up,
yes.
they already have a taste for it.
So people like you, Sakara, you eat imported rice and go, yeah. So they all think that this is the thing. I want to be like them. Yeah, you should eat the mutuo and the cassava konkonte and say depa. Then they also I've been quite fantastic. Okay. So create this idea in them that these local foods are also very nice. And the truth of the matter is that, as a matter of fact, some of us, we don't eat all these imported stuff. Me, I like my red TZ. And then the groundnut soup with the leaves inside. Yeah, you eat that 2-3 times a week. Oh, you'll be feeling very nice. In the morning, you take your cocoa and kose, beans and millet or maize cocoa. You're also okay. Are you with me? Yes. At the end of the day, in the evening, if you get some smaller confirm, that one will also go down nice. It's like a local guinea fowl. It's also okay.
So we change the taste of our people to correspond with our strengths in terms of what we can produce as a Greek nation.
Well, you see, my point is this. Those other people who are sending you those things, that is their strength. It's not your strength. Are you with me? If you go and you start eating cake and omelette and wheat, all those wheat products, wheat is their strength. What yams are to us is what wheat is to them in terms of their natural productive capacity of their environment. So if you go and put your leg in a shoe that does not fit you and you keep tripping over until you learn common sense and remove it, you keep falling. Sorghum, millets are our traditional crops in Africa. Before the Europeans arrived, you just think about this. For the thousands of years that we were on this continent before we saw the white man, we survived on these crops, sorghum and millet. We had rice, but it was the globera, glaberina rice, the swamp rice, the round ones, And then we had small cocoyams and all these brodier and all of these things. We survived. We survived so well that they could come and feast on our bodies. Millions of us into slave trade, etc., and yet we are still the fastest growing population in the world. By 2050, 3 out of every 5 young men will be an African. That's how well we have survived.
Eating the food that is indigenous to our continent.
Yes. And some people never went to hospitals. I don't even remember seeing my grandmother going to hospital. I don't even think she knew what a hospital was. Are you with me? You ate the natural foods. Now, I'm not saying that we can eat all those foods today, because today, those foods have now become what they call superfoods. You're sitting here sneering at them. Somebody is exporting them to Europe. And people have started eating them because they realize that these foods are very good for you. Are you with me? Now, we can make sure that the base of our calorie intake is shifted more towards our yams, our cassava, and then, as for maize, now we have adopted it, so let it be there. But the millets and the sorghums, are you with me? We can also produce those. And it's a strategic decision. What percentage of our calorific intake will come from here? And then our protein. How do we tackle our protein deficiency? We have decided we want cow meat. Are you with me? So we are importing cow and chicken, but we can produce chickens here. Yeah. And personally speaking, cows are the most expensive way to get meat. Because by the time grass goes into cows, you've used a lot of landed area just to get a kilo of meat. So it is more efficient to use poultry, eggs, and then beans. Grow more beans. And if you're growing a lot of these staples, beans are a combination. So God has designed this thing in such a way that if we followed what our grandfathers were doing, are you with me, and improved on it using science, scientific knowledge, we will be okay.
We have 4 minutes to go. I want to finally find out from you, how heavy should we be in terms of technology when it comes to farming?
No, look, technology is just a tool.
Okay.
Okay? The knife is a technology. The day they invented the knife out of metal, everybody thought it was very dangerous. It should be thrown away. But any technology can work for you. It can work against you. The very thing that you use to kill people, you can use it to cook. You can use it to cut firewood. Are you with me? So people should not make a phobia about technology, because it means you are afraid of you yourself, your nature. You don't know how to use it safely. That is why you're afraid of it. Okay? So every technology is for human beings to use. However, technology must be appropriate for where you are starting from.
Okay.
Because in all societies, in all buildings, you have a foundation, the superstructure, the roof, before you talk about the interior decoration and whether you have water bed or whatever. Are you with me? So we have to talk about the foundation technologies. So the foundation technologies give us control over our environment so that we are not subject to the vagaries of the environment. That is why the control of water is so important. Once you control the water, you're going to have to use some energy to control it. That means that you cannot be producing at the same level as before. So you have to introduce technology that gives you greater production per unit area. And you can use conventional technology, you can use sophisticated technology. It's up to what you can afford. I don't get into all these arguments about GMO and all of that. It's like, I don't have money to afford a Ferrari, so why should I be arguing about whether a Ferrari is safe to drive or not? I'm driving my small car. I'll manage with it for now. Are you with me? So this issue about technology should be treated in that systemic way, where you apply the appropriate technology at your level of development and to build sequentially. You shouldn't just go and get technology that is beyond your capacity to manage and which doesn't give you the returns to investment, because the rest of the foundation is not up to that level yet.
Okay.
Are you with me? So this is how we approach the technology. And there's a whole range of technologies we can use. In fact, that's what I'm telling you. Our problem in developing Africa is that the options available to us are too many. When other people were developing, they didn't have those options. They had to do what was common sense and what was affordable. But in our case, we have all the developed technology of the world at our disposal. We can import it. But that doesn't mean you import everything. You look at your situation, look at your domestic market, etc. Import those things that will give you returns to investment, but that will also move you forward. You shouldn't import things that will just keep you standing in one place, or you do a Yoruba dance. You go look back forward and look back backwards, and then you keep doing that for years and years. We're tired of all of that.
Dr. Michael Abu Sakara, fantastic. Once again, it's been a great conversation. We wish you the very best. We know that there's an election year. You are heavy on the national agenda. Thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to be here. We need to do a third installment of this conversation because we haven't exhausted a lot of the things that we need to.
Yes.
But thank you so much for coming through. Listeners, Dr. Michael Abu Sakara.
Next time I come, I'll be tackling you, the youth. Because in our policy in the GTP, we have own a farm. So all of you must own a farm.
Thank you very much. We'll be talking about owning a farm. Dr. Michael Abu Sakara, thank you so much. Coming up, we are in the final hour of the